Good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. We're certainly glad to have you today. And as always, you can see our program on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as BTC Fiber's Channel 18. And today we have with us Sandy Green. She's the owner of Greenhouse Children's Center. And Sandy, it's good to have you today. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I know one of the reasons I wanted to have you in, because I know you're not originally from here, and I guess Dunlap is no different from any other place. You always need childcare, and there's never a shortage of childcare. I mean, there is as far as centers and places that take care of people are always looking for childcare.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about what you offer in your service and why you chose to come to Dunlap, and just do a little background.
Okay, so I have been a preschool teacher since 1985. So I knew when I was a young girl that I wanted to work with young children. So it's always been a passion of mine. I taught preschool all through college. I always really wanted to own my own center. My first day that I ever walked into a preschool, I walked past the director's office and I looked at it and I thought, that's what I want to do. So I love to study and to read, and I love to approach childcare from a science-based perspective. So we always look at the brain and that type of thing. So my other childcares that I've run or started back in my home state of California were always followed along on that model. You know, how do we do what's best, what's science-based, what's best for kids. So they always ran really well, were really successful, and I had a lot of good feedback. So what I did was all the other programs that I worked with, I pulled different pieces to create this model of what really works for kids, not what we think works, but what we've seen in practice actually works. So when we needed to move out here to help care for my elderly mother-in-law, my husband was born in Nashville, and my mother and father-in-law still live here in Tennessee, but my father-in-law had passed and my mother-in-law wasn't doing well. So the center here happened to be for sale, and I was scared to do it, but I thought, okay, I think that I can bring something good out to this little town. And I just drove through here. I didn't know anything about it, but we stopped for lunch, and the people were, wonderful. The people at Dunlap are pretty fantastic. And so I got scared, but I did it anyway. We made an offer on the business, and the previous owner was just a dream, helping me with everything, to figure it all out. And because it's way different in Tennessee. I've worked in Hawaii, Arizona, New Mexico, California. So I've been in a lot of different states, but Tennessee's very different, very unique in their approach to licensing childcare. So so we bought it, and we just started moving forward with putting my vision into place. I would say that we're about 90% where I want to be, but I never feel like we're good enough, if that makes sense.
Sure,
there's
I understand
always a next standard to hit, a next goal to reach, a next. So I have this staff that is amazing. They've along with providing quality care for children, I really think it's important to develop your staff. So I have this incredible staff. They're all back in school. They're all learning about their trade, their craft. We call it our practice, with kids. So they're doing that, and yeah, it's going really well. And so the more I've been in Dunlap and gotten to meet people and be involved in the community, like we did, like the Christmas parade, and I've just fallen completely in love with this town and the people here, and I want to do better and better and better for them and their children, because we do know that early childhood is a very important stage of life. Everything that you're going to be happens in early childhood, so it's really important that it's quality. And so I want to provide really good outcomes for the children of this community. They're important, they matter, and so I told you I talk a lot, so there you go.
That's quite all right. Well, with the you mentioned your training of your employees. That's good, because not every child care does that. Right.
It's important to know the why behind what I'm asking you to do. I have my own certain way that we do behavior management, right? So we don't do anything at our center that's any kind of punishment. or shaming. There's no punitive discipline at our center. It's all natural consequences, but the teachers need to understand the why, the what's happening inside the child's brain when certain behaviors are happening, the circumstances behind it, how to look at the whole child when you're addressing those types of things. Why do we learn through play? Why don't we sit kids down at a table and give them worksheets to do when they're 3 years old? Why? So I want my staff to know the why, and then they buy in, right? Because they understand it. They buy into what I'm asking them to do, and then we get this amazing program. So, and that's where we're at. Like, I wish you could have come there, because it's really great to see.
Well, I can relate to a lot of that, because I know when I was growing up, we didn't have the cell phones, we didn't have all the devices. We just had to go out and play.
Right.
And we came up with games and created things, and our imagination just kind of ran wild. We just kind of did whatever.
That's exactly the right way for people to grow up. So at our center, that's my approach. So the kids, we have like an outdoor classroom, and that's all about mud and sticks and rocks. And our kids go home dirty, but our parents know it when they sign up. They go home having touched all these things, and there's a lot of science behind that. How it helps the brain development, actually, which I think is really interesting, how it helps the immune system develop. Like,
yes.
They need to be in contact with all of those microbes in the soil. They need to be touching all of that, needs to be coming into contact with their body, and it actually helps their physical development as
yes.
well as their cognitive development. So those are really important things for them. Loose parts play, like we have all these kind of names for it now, right?
Yeah.
So in my field, we have all these names for things that you and I just think of, this is what kids should be doing, but there are things called risky play. And that means that if a child is telling you, I want to climb up that hill and roll down the other side, you tell them, go for it. Is there a possibility they're going to roll over a stick and maybe get hurt? Sure. But they're going to be okay. You'll be there on the other side to comfort them, and they need to do that. And, so that's, risky play. We do what's called loose parts play. Like we have a big playground. So out there, I got donations from one of the tire stores in town, and we have a bunch of tires and boards and things out there. You would not believe the amazing creations that these kids make with those, and then the games they create.
Uh-huh.
And then they learn good social behavior, how to follow rules, how to listen to a friend, how to communicate well. All of that's involved in like what we call loose parts play, where you and I are just like, let's go dig a fort in the woods. So that's kind of like what my program is based on.
Well, children need, from my perspective, because my wife and I both taught 30 years in school.
Oh, okay.
She was second grade and I was middle school.
Okay.
So we see that children need to get in and work with each other, play with each other,
Mm-hmm.
And do those things. Learn how to cooperate and not always get your way. You have to kind of give and take.
Right.
And you mentioned you're getting dirty in the immune system. That's what I guess with COVID has enlightened me more, that in 30 years of school, I can count on one hand the number of times I was actually sick and had to stay home, because you're around that and you get eventually you build, you're immune to it.
Yes.
Your immunity, and that's I don't think people understand that, and they want to keep people in. And now I'm not against what happened in the COVID. I'm not talking bad about all that.
No.
But I think we could have handled that a little different too, and it could have maybe changed things as well.
Well, during COVID, if it's okay to talk about
Sure.
that, we chose not to mask. So I came to my staff, and this just speaks to the heart of who they are. I came to them and I said, okay, I don't want to mask. I don't want the children in masks. They need to be able to see your faces. They need to read emotion. This is where their brains are learning and picking up on all that. Language development, all of those things are happening in this, 6-week to 5-year span that we have these children. So I will pay you through, if you guys choose not to come back to work right now, I get it. I'll respect that, but I need to know how many of you want to come back. So was at one of our staff meetings before we reopened, because we were closed for a little bit for COVID. Every single one of them raised their hands and said, no, I want to be here. I want to be here.
Okay.
So we didn't mask our children. We're not seeing the delays in speech and language development that some of the preschools around the country are seeing. I think the CDC kind of lowered their standards and stuff. We're not seeing any of that, and I'm now proud of that decision. I was a little scared to make it,
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, at the time because we didn't know what we were dealing with, but I did know what children need as far as their brain development. So yeah, we didn't mask at our school. We chose not to. And I think for us, it was a good decision, especially out here. You know, I felt a little more confident, you know, out here and supported by the parents and everything. So
Well, it's more relaxing, actually. And,
yeah.
And as you mentioned, if you're not happy with something, they can't see that through a mask. Or if you're happy with something, they can't see that through a mask.
And there's, like I said, there's been a lot of research behind what children look at when they're learning to speak. They look at how your lips are moving. They look at what your tongue is doing. They mimic that. So if you have that all covered when a child is needing that information from you, and they're missing something. And we know that the brain goes through something called pruning. So if you're not causing those neurons to fire and connect and make connections, your brain prunes that out. You never get it back. So that's why, like at our school, every day the teachers turn in lesson plans to me, and every developmental domain is addressed every day. And so our centers in our classrooms are meant to mimic, you know, the developmental domains. The children are, every single part of their development is addressed every single day, because we don't ever want to miss out on. It's such a, like, I'm sorry, I love this. And so I just find it so fascinating, and I could talk about it forever. And I think it's so important. And there are people who, like, you know, don't understand how important early childhood education is, how it sets them up in so many ways for success later on in life.
Yes.
Like even just us getting our kids ready for kindergarten. I mean, that is the most satisfying thing when a child comes out of your pre-K program and they go to kindergarten and they walk into that classroom and they know what to do, how to transition from one activity to another, how to say the Pledge of Allegiance, what the teacher's going to expect out of them, what to look at, what to do, where to stand, how to behave, and then they feel confident and good.
Right.
And they, you know what happens then? They like it.
Yes.
And then when they like kindergarten, well, maybe they're going to like first grade too, and then and then it builds. It's a really important part of life. So
Well, I know my granddaughter, for example, she was in kindergarten last year, and she's repeating this year simply because she had to miss about 30 days because she was around people that had COVID, and that was their protocol.
Right,
And then her teacher developed COVID, and she was out for like 6 weeks, and so that put her back. Now she's not hurting by repeating the kindergarten. She loves it, and you know, but you miss. I saw a study to where children that when COVID started, if they were starting school, were going to be behind almost 3 years in their process because of all the stuff that was going on.
Yeah, there's so much that happens minute by minute, and that's one of the things that's one of the things that I base my program on. Every interaction is crucial. Every facial expression that you have with a child, every reaction you give them. And no, they can't all be happy, sunshiny reactions.
Right.
Sometimes you have to say things like, do you see my face? This is my mad face. I don't like it when you hurt my friends. You know, and you have to show them like what that looks like. And all of that plays into who they become.
Right.
You know, when they're older, it's a big part of it. So I see it as so crucially important. I actually had a college professor tell me one time, he said, you know, what you do is way more important than what I do. And I said, I know. I believe that. So.
Well, as a classroom teacher, I could tell the children who had attention when they were preschool, when their parents took an interest in what they were doing instead of just letting them sit at home and play and not pay any mind to them, unless they cried or made a noise. You know, there's a big difference, and it sounds like what you're doing is helping those parents that who have to work, because I'm sure you have a lot of those.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't have really. All of our parents are working parents. And that's a whole nother aspect to childcare. So I think childcare is education and social work and nursing and I don't know, cleaning, and like there's just so much involved in it. But you have to support the family. If you're looking at it like that child is just coming into your program as just this singular unit, you're not going to do anything for that child, right? So you have to look at mom. So when mom walks in and she's nervous because this thing that she's leaving with you is the most important thing in her life, you have to honor and respect that, and and understand that that's a blessing to you and a huge responsibility, but you have to look at her too. And so you have to make sure to communicate well with her. We have all kinds of channels of communication. You have to make sure you're supporting her. Like, for example, and dad too. I'm not leaving dad out, but I'm a woman, so, I just kind of am geared that way. But we always have a Mother's Day tea where the kids serve their moms. So they sing to their moms and they serve their moms, and they learn service, to return what's being given to them, gratitude, all of those things are important. So the teaching of values, you talk about that starts in preschool. But to serve for me to serve the mothers and the dads, I've done it at all my other programs, but this is the first time I'm going to do it here. I'm going to do what's called a parents' night out right before Mother's Day. So the Friday night before. So the staff is going to come in and we're going to babysit for 2.5 hours all of the children in the family for our parents who sign up. So moms and dads can go out to dinner and just mom and dad. And connect, because when or whatever or mom, if she's alone, she could just maybe go get her toenails done or just have a couple minutes to pour back into herself. Because if you have a strong parental unit for that child, they've got a strong base to stand on. They have a cornerstone, so you want to make sure that you're supporting that as well. So that's what I love about childcare, is there are so many different aspects to it. There is a way to serve people at every minute. Like every time you turn around, there's somebody else that you can help and be of service to. So that's why I find it so fascinating.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like you do a good job of it.
Oh, thank you. We do try.
How many children do you serve currently?
Right now, we are licensed for 99. And so that's what we have enrolled. We have a really big wait list. I'm looking for another building what I'm being called to, I think, is an infant and toddler center. There's a lot of need for infant and toddler care. I took some specialized training back in California for infant and toddler care, and I opened an infant and toddler center out there. I would like to do something for this community that's state of the art. Again, where we're approaching it from that brain-based perspective, where we understand what the children need cognitively. So I'm looking. I looked at something yesterday. I'm trying to find the right building that has the right outdoor space, and I have a lot of I'm really particular. You can ask any of my staff, they'll tell you I'm super picky about how things go, and I'm kind of inflexible about it, which maybe is not something so great about me, but I've done this for a really long time, and I do know what works and what doesn't, and I want it to be perfect. So that's why I'm looking for something for infants and toddlers. But we'll see, and we'll just see if it, if it ends up working out, it works out. But I am giving it a shot. So,
that sounds like a good idea. It's something I don't think has been done around here.
No, and specifically for infants and toddlers and their parents. That's a whole. I don't know if you remember when you first had your little baby, and boy, are you in a vulnerable place. They can't tell you what's happening, and there has to be it's a whole different level of care. So I do have at my center now 5 infants, or a space for 5 infants. That I don't have infants, but I don't like my environment as much, so I really want to find a different environment where we've got separate napping areas and separate active play areas and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Because there's a big difference between when you say infants and toddlers. Big difference between a baby that's 1.5 to a 3-year-old, because they play different. And they don't. The 3-year-old doesn't understand why the 1-year-old can't play.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And they have different needs. their needs are completely different, and so we do have that, in our center now, and they have different curriculums for each classroom. And believe it or not, even our infant class has a curriculum. There are things that they need to be learning, so we work with all of them in that way. So
well, that sounds great. Sounds like it's a good program. Maybe we'll come down there and see.
Oh yeah, I would love it. Yeah,
that would be a good thing. Well, now, how many staff do you have? You mentioned the children.
I always get the numbers messed up, but I think there's 12 of us. I think I'm 13. I can't always remember, but we're always, I always like to talk to people that feel called to this type of service, because that's what it is. I mean, it really is you have to look at it from a service perspective, so I'm always looking for new staff. We always have room to bring people on that really feel called to do this, and are willing to look at things from my way.
Well, do you, and I'm just assuming here, like parents who have to drop children off a little earlier than school time, maybe they're having to go to Chattanooga or somewhere to work. Mm-hmm. What are your hours? So
we open at 6:30 and we close at 5:30. So those are our hours of operation. I have been talking to some of the different larger businesses in town about trying to help them with some type of second shift care. So I'm really looking at how to serve Dunlap. And the people, Sequatchie County, the people that live here, what do they need? Because I think the people that work that second shift, they can't find care.
Yeah, they're not at home.
Right.
And their children are at home.
Yeah, yeah. So they need something. And so I've been really trying to figure out how to do that. It's something I've never done. But it doesn't mean I couldn't figure it out, because that's a whole different kind of thing. So yeah, I'm always looking for different ways to, bring in people that are really called for this, ways to, serve the community in another way. But right now, I think we have 12. So,
12.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good number to start with anyway.
Yeah.
With what you have.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of people don't understand too, talking about your business, that you can't just buy a place and buy equipment and open up a daycare. There's a lot of regulations going into it.
Yeah, and Tennessee is really special for that. It's way different than my last place in California. So I had to learn my way through that, and it was a big learning curve. Yeah, a lot of people think that you can open up with really great intentions, but there's a lot. We have to have a lot of training, and it has to be continuous. Like, we train a lot during the year. And then, like at my center, I like us to do extra trainings. Like, I'm just about to do a training. There's a new concept in early childhood that I've been learning about, and I want to share it with my staff. So we're always training and improving. But yeah, as far as licensing goes, like, it comes down to how many square feet you have to have per child. Our menus, it's very specific what we can do. So we've gotten really creative to make really palatable food that's healthy for the kids. Like, they actually eat it. They love it. We changed, a lot from when I bought the center to now. We have been through, like, I remember when I first got there, I'm from California, so you have to remember that. Like, I wanted them to eat, like, whole raw vegetables, and so we made this beautiful salad that we were serving, and that salad was going right into the garbage like every day. We were like, oh my gosh. So, and it was a lot of work to, like, grate the carrots and, like, all this, and so I had to adjust to provide those vegetables in a way that was palatable to the kids and they could eat it. But we got there. So we're pretty happy. But it was funny when I first came in. I really had to sit back, because I came in, thinking that, like, I understood what this community needed, and here's what we were going to do, and this was going to be great. And then I had to sit back and go, wait. I need to listen to the parents. I need to look at the kids and pull back and really figure out how I'm going to best meet the needs of this community where they are right now. And so I did some changing and adjusting, and figuring things out. Oh, well, so I came with my own set of, expectations for the South, right? Because obviously I'm not Southern, darn it. But I wish I was.
We are now.
Yeah, there you go. So I thought all children love biscuits and gravy, right? Because it's Southern, so all children want to eat biscuits and gravy. So I made biscuits and gravy. We made this beautiful gravy, and we put it out for the kids, and they all just looked at it and they were like, what is that? And finally the staff that has kids was like, yeah, we don't put gravy on their biscuits. And I was like, what? You're Southern. You have to. Like, that's a part of it. Like, you've got, and they're like, no. So we got rid of the gravy right away. But so I had some learning to do. So.
Well, that's all right.
And I still do, for sure. Oh, and the language. Like, there's so many things I had to learn. We still laugh about it. Like, when I first got there, it was my very first day, and I asked someone if they wouldn't mind mopping the foyer, and they said, I don't care to do that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, then I'll do it. And they're like, no, I don't care to do that. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. I'll go get the mop. I'll do it. And they're like, no, I don't mind doing it. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand. Because I didn't, that wasn't like something that we say back where I'm from. So there's been some funny stuff like that we've had a really good time with. They tease me relentlessly. But
I bet they do.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's all right.
Yeah, we get along really well. It's a really cohesive group of women. They all have each other's backs, and they work really hard for the kids. So I'm proud of what they do.
Well, that's good. It sounds like it's going well. Have you had any ups and downs that you want to mention? That
ups and downs. I've had one down, but mostly it's been ups. Like really, really supportive community.
Well,
like
good.
They've been, they will go out of their way to show us that they're grateful. They've been, I'm trying to think of specific incidences, but they've just really gone out of their way to be loving and kind and supportive. But we're taking care of their children, so they're not always thrilled, so if they come in and they're worried about something, a lost jacket or a missing pacifier or something like that, they always come in, always 95% of the time with a respectful attitude, ready to talk, ready to figure out what happened, solve the problem, that kind of thing. So it's really been like mostly ups, honestly. I'm really happy with where I was led, and I love the parents, and oh my gosh, the kids. There are some really, really cute kids in this community. Some characters, like, oh my gosh, they're amazing. So that's really fun. But I'm sure you remember from your time working with kids. It's so great to just see how unique each one of them is, and how special each one of them is. They all have something fascinating and interesting and fun, and you can reach them like in totally different ways. And like my staff, they, with their class, they're so connected to their children that I could come in and say, okay, tell me something really great about Johnny, and they could tell me 5 great things that make him unique and different from everybody else. You know, so that's a pretty special thing when you know him that well. So. Well,
that's good, because that really takes a lot to do. When you get to know all your children, that's a more of a personal level. And I think the parents appreciate that too, because then you know more about them than just the number.
And you're invested, and that's the thing we talk about, like in early childhood. It's called secure attachment. And so the first thing I'll tell the parents when they come in and they're going to register their children, I'll let them know that we're probably going to go through a little bit of separation anxiety, because that's perfectly normal, especially in the younger ones. And we'll talk about okay, so this is what you can expect to see. This is what we're going to deal with this is what we're going to do on the other side of that. We're going to comfort that child, meet their needs. We're going to be with them while they're sad and missing you until that bond between home and school, that secure attachment, that bridge gets built to where they seek us for comfort. And we will get there. Like that always happens, and the staff that I have is excellent at that. So creating that secure attachment, and then that child is now they're emotionally comfortable and ready to learn, but that makes the moms feel good. And then we send pictures, during the day, like this is them happy and playing, and this is us holding them, and this is what's happening, so moms feel good too. But that's something that we're really good at, is just creating that bond with the children. And that's the thing, it doesn't just go one way. Right. It's not just the bond from the child to the educator, it's the educator to the child as well. And we love them.
Well, I know when my oldest daughter, when she started going to daycare after my wife left her pregnancy leave, the first day I took her to daycare, she was crying, she didn't want to leave. Yeah. And then the second day I took her, and then she didn't cry, and I thought, wait a minute, don't you miss me?
I know, we get that too. Sometimes the moms cry, especially, our older ones, but it's very rewarding when you get there with a little one. Yeah, we have one right now that's kind of going through it, and we're seeing the progress that we want to see, and so it's just the most rewarding thing when the child finally turns to you and will let you be the one that loves and comforts them, and they start to understand they're going to be okay, you know, and then they start, then their personalities really come out, because they're ready to get out and explore the classroom and play and stuff, so it's fun. So. My youngest grandson has learned now he can go down on his belly on the slide. Oh yeah. He's a 1.5 years old. Oh yeah. That's the most fun. That's the thing. That's why I get frustrated, like with other programs that I've seen in the past, like, oh, the slides are only for going down. Don't twist on the swings. Well, children need to do all that. Yeah. They need to slide down a slide on their belly. They need to get on a swing and spin around. There are actual reasons behind that. It stimulates the brainstem. It promotes cognitive growth. They know they need to do that, and we're constantly telling kids they don't need to do what we know that they know they need to be doing, right? So, like even just details. Okay, so sometimes when you're sitting in circle time, the kids will have their legs out and they're rocking their feet back and forth like that. The reason they do that, and somebody may tell them, "Oh, stop doing that, sit crisscross applesauce." Well, the reason that they're doing that is because our hip joints get fed through movement. There's something in there called synovial fluid, and it feeds the hip joints, right? So they need to move through full range of motion. So let's all sit down and rock our feet back and forth. It's, you know what I mean? So we need to respect them, trust them, listen to what they're saying. Can they have their way all the time? No. There are boundaries. They need to understand, they need to practice self-regulation. They need to, all of those important things. But, you and I today were kind of talking about the fun part of it, which is, let them climb across those monkey bars, even if you think they might be a little bit too small. Support that. Let them make those decisions. It's all really good for them. So, letting him go down on his belly, I think that's awesome. Because a lot of adults will be like, oh, no, that's not safe, Yeah. But it can be safe if you're there.
Well, I've noticed throughout the years that children, if they fall and they start to cry because they hurt themselves, if you rush over there, then they go to you for security. Where if you just kind of, okay, you can get up, and let them realize, well, I'm not hurt that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And that is something that's different here than where I came from, that I've had to learn to respect. So I'm more like talking about feelings and, all that. But the children here, what I'm learning, are being taught to be strong and independent and self-reliant. Those are values to this community that are very important. So I'm making sure I support that. So like if someone does fall down and get a skinned knee, I'll wait just a sec and wait and see what the reaction is going to be. Are we really hurt? Is it just a little bit? Are we going to get up and keep going? And so then I just support, what the child is going to do, at the time, depending on, the level of the injury or, whatever. But those are things I'm trying to bring my practice with kids in alignment with what the values are here. right? Because, you know, I came from someplace totally different. It was definitely very different. But I'm here now. So
well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
It sounds like you're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. I look forward to coming out here and being here. So I enjoy it.
Well, this is a great place. I'm originally not from here, but I've been here 40 years now. I guess.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I'm from here.
I guess you get to be called a local now.
Yeah.
I know, and we made a mistake, and I don't live in Dunlap. I live in Chattanooga. I didn't know. I mean, you know, and we'd already bought our house by the time I got the center, so I had no idea it would have been a better idea for us to live out this. I didn't know, so it's okay.
You'll move eventually.
Yeah, that's what Deidre says. Like, she's our director. She always says, she's like, you'll be out here at some point.
Yeah.
But that drive from Chattanooga to here is the most beautiful thing.
It is.
It is so peaceful. We usually have our morning meetings on the phone as I drive across, and oh my gosh, it's stunning. And to watch the seasons, you know, it's really, really cool. So.
Well, is there anything we haven't mentioned that you'd like to mention?
No, I feel like I talked your ear off. Are you okay?
I'm good.
Okay.
That's great. Well, I'm really glad you're here, and if we get a chance, Ethan and I will go down and see your place one day.
Oh, that'd be great.
And,
that'd be really great. We would love it.
Do another tour, and that way we could actually see what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think we're doing some really great work out there. I'm proud of it. I'd like to expand it out to serve more families. But yeah, I do think it would be fun to have you come out. I love to show it off. As you can tell, I like talking about early childhood education, but it would be fun to show it off if you ever want to come out. You'd be welcome.
Well, we'd love to.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come in and talk to you today.
Thank you for being with us. And as always, folks, you can see our program again on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as BTC Fiber's Cable Channel 18. So until next time, have a great day. Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, your full-service telecommunications provider right here in the Sequatchie Valley.